All right. So if you caught our live stream last night, I don't know if I did a really good job of explaining why or why not you might want to have a lower cost firearm specifically. We talked about some of the upper echelon brands and why they're just stupidly expensive, and that isn't necessarily worth it to most people. So here is an example of a lower receiver. That's mine. Yeah, Punisher Skull. This is a special edition from Anderson. Um, so this is one of those things. Like, this is a cheap lower receiver. I think I paid $60 for it. Um, but when you get a lower receiver like that, it's usually stripped. It's usually doesn't have any of the internal. So like your whole fire control group here. So that'd be like the hammer and the springs and the trigger and the safety and the mag release, all of the stuff that goes inside. Um, so you can get a cheap lower receiver. And Calvin made that point that he's got cheap lower receivers on some of his higher end uppers. Um, and when you get a cheaper lower receiver, like say like this Anderson, which they're not in the business anymore, so I can't do that. But whatever, Palmetto State, you can still put higher end equipment into that lower receiver because most manufacturers, they're producing things that are mill spec. Don't take that as like, oh, top tier nomenclature. It's not. It being mill spec does not mean it's actually good. It just means that there's a standard, and they're meeting that standard. That's all that is. So it's usually the cheaper version. Anyway, so when you go and you get your mill spec lower receiver doesn't have anything in it, you can put in the Palmetto State, the Anderson group, fire control group into it, the safety into it, all that stuff. But what you're going to find is it's not smooth necessarily. It's not as nice necessarily. Now, like Palmetto State, they have their enhanced, what do they call it, EPT, their polished trigger, which is pretty decent considering, but it's not the same as the Geisleys or the CMCs or whatever. So what you're going to notice is when you do actually pull the trigger, there's going to be more creep. That's the amount of movement there is before it actually releases, and then it's going to have a longer reset after you fire. And it's not necessarily bad. It's just something to be aware of, that when you do buy a higher end internal, it could potentially increase the shootability, the reliability of your platform. And that's something that's great about ARs. I love about ARs, is you can fix it up. You can buy that cheap, whatever, maybe not like a Radiant or something like that, but like a cheaper gun. And then as time allows, as money allows, as you set aside some money for, say, an upgraded trigger, you can pop this out or bring it to me and I can pop it out, drop in whatever cassette style, maybe an FRT, a precision, whatever, into your lower receiver and fundamentally change how well your gun performs just by doing that upgrade. The other one is the safety. When you get a cheaper safety, there's going to be a grittiness to it. It's not going to move as nicely as some of the nicer safeties. So this is a 90-degree safety. That means it goes from this direction to this direction. It's 90 degrees. There's some that go 45 degrees, so you don't have to move it as far. That's a personal preference thing. There's some that are ambidextrous, so you have your safety control on this side. This one does not have the safety control, but some of them do. Again, depending on how you're shooting, if you're doing a thumb over, like you're doing precision, something like that, where you might want to have that control over on that side. Okay, sure. Or maybe it gets in your way. It's in my way. I don't like it. So that is something else. The detent pins for the um, releases. So this pin is what locks the upper receiver to the lower receiver, right? Yeah, one at the back and one at the front. The cheaper lower parts kits that I found, I don't know if it's the brass is just a harder brass, or maybe it's not rounded as well. They tend to be harder to press through. Maybe it's the tolerance of the actual physical hole to the diameter of the pin. I'm not sure what all it is, but better quality lower parts kits do tend to work better. So maybe that's a good takeaway is you get a cheaper, lower, but then you get a higher end parts kit to fill it, and then you end up with a better overall gun. So anyway, thought I'd clarify a little bit on that one. If you have any questions, come by the shop. I'm open Tuesday to Saturday, 10 to 6. All right. Have a good day. God bless. Bye.